All right. Well, here with us is Rachel. She's a ghost hunter and a UFO investigator. And she's here to tell us a little bit about herself. And she's usually with a little teammate here, but she's not here today. And she's going to fill in a little bit about her backstory too. So, can you tell us where you grew up and how you got into the field of the paranormal?
Sure. I am from upstate New York, and we have a lot of unmarked graves and a lot of indigent cemeteries where I'm from. So lots of people settled here and passed away here. And if their family couldn't afford a stone for them, they bury them in their backyard. And so I had an imaginary friend when I was younger. Her name was Maybelle Deo. She was 3 years, 5 months, and 8 days old. And then I was about 9 years old when there was a landline being dug near my home, and they found her grave and her body. So she was really more than an imaginary friend. She was a ghost. And I had seen her for a really long time. And when they flipped the grave over, they had to scrape the stone to see her name. And my dad was like, "How did you know her name?" So that's my ghost story.
So, how old were you?
I had seen her since I was about three, and then I was about 9 years old when they were digging the line.
That's cool. So,
Interesting.
after that, you kind of maybe steered yourself into the paranormal and got into like ghost stories and
Yeah, I was the weird chick, and I wore my own blood around my around my neck
oh
in
shit.
in sixth grade. Yeah, so I got in trouble for it a lot, and I was shunned a lot. But yeah, no, I was the girl that saw ghosts. I was the one with the haunted house, and so it was more of like I was the enigma until it was around Halloween season, then everybody wanted to come to my house or,
Um,
no more, much like they do now, which you guys know we have a season where everybody pays more attention to the paranormal than not.
In another interview, I heard your partner, Ava, I heard her say that she had some experiences too when she was, I think she said when she was young. Since she isn't here, do you know something about it?
I know that Ava has been affected by the paranormal for a really long time and that she has grown her abilities through the course of time. I don't remember her origin story. We've been on hundreds of investigations over around 20 years together. So sometimes it gets like muddled, but what I do know is she's grown spiritually and she's able to hear and see things on a psychic level, which is a higher level than just a regular paranormal investigator that wants to go out and learn and relies on equipment and things. So she uses her body as a piece of equipment.
Interesting. So, what is your part in the team?
So I am more of the technological expert, and Ava is a sensitive. So there's times where we'll be in a location and she's like feeling everything. And I'm just like, okay, the reading here is,
oh, I
and it's
see.
not that I don't feel anything or see anything, but I'm more technical and I pay a lot of attention to the technology around me. So I'm able to relay back to the audience the evidence and go back on it myself while, reviewing later on and making sure it's not, a cat running beside us or something simple that can be debunked. But Ava's very in the moment. And so she will become encased or enveloped in spiritual activity.
So, you're the tech nerd.
I am kind of the tech nerd.
She's
The
Over the
ghost
course of time,
box.
I have been.
Yeah.
she's the spiritual one. So,
Yeah.
tell us about an adventure you had together. Tell us about an interesting investigation you had.
I'll go to the most recent one where we were doing Tom Reed's UFO monument investigation.
Hmm.
The area that we were in is just been recognized by the government as a location that has been active with UFO activity. So now it's in the books of history. And so we went there to basically reiterate what had happened. And while we were there, just showing people what was a possibility in the water, in the air. we started experiencing paranormal activity. So we didn't mean to. We were there filming kind of B-roll footage just to say, you know, this is where we were, kind of give a replay. While we were there, it became a paranormal investigation. And Ava was in the bridge area where known activity is. I believe it's Portal. And she was kind of overwhelmed and experienced a lot of things, and it took her breath away. She had to leave the location for a little while. And again, I was kind of paying attention to what I was doing. I was like, take two, take, you know, like, but so we managed to get through it. But like I said, sometimes filming when we have it written out becomes reality in that moment.
We had a Rachel. We had a guest not too long ago in our last show. We had a guest. His name was Jack Chavez, and he talks about some kind of psi parasite or astral parasite. He talked about this researcher, I forgot his name, who thinks that people who suffer from mental illness could be, like infested with this kind of parasite. So these parasites, he claims, feed on negative energy. What do you think about that?
I think that I study microbiology myself, and I do believe that a lot of spiritual things are happening on a micro level. We're looking for things that are doorway size. We're looking for things that are whale size, slapping us in the face, when in fact, what we should be doing is looking at structures of DNA, smaller term things that can be recognized, mitochondrial sized items. Instead of it being on the larger scale, if we started looking at these manifestations on a smaller scale, we might be able to measure them. That's the missing component with a lot of the things in the paranormal, is we don't have a base in mathematics to begin to measure these. So quantum physics, which is another field of my interest, is another debunked science, because we don't have the availability to measure quanta. The whole idea is that we have a starting base. So we have to begin to imagine how to find things and what they look like based off of our feelings, based off the equipment that we have surrounding us. And so this person, whether or not it's a theory or whether or not it's a personal experience, I believe the manifestation can start small. It can start as kind of that ache in the back. We call it hitchhikers, when you leave a location and you have something attached to you, a negative energy that's attached to you. I think manifestations don't even have to have ever been dead or alive or human. They could have been a manifestation of anger and evil. If you walk into Eastern State Penitentiary or any of the asylums, there's almost like if you walk onto a beach and there's sand that you bring home. You walk onto these locations and there's spiritual debris that you're walking through, and you're bringing it home with you. These people have lived there, they've died there, they've dropped DNA there, they've dropped blood there. These little things can manifest into bigger things. And DNA, as we know, has a memory. And so some memories aren't as pleasant as others. And if we're walking through these locations, asking for spirits and different entities to touch us and involve themselves with us, they could be saturating our DNA. I could see that being a possibility.
Wow. Actually, never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
Like
That's,
bringing that like
that's
stuff
what the
home
guy's
with you from
getting
like,
at.
like going to like places that are high energy, even evil energy, and then bringing some of that shit home with you is not, oh my God. Again, never thought about that.
Yeah,
But
it's crazy.
As Jack said, it doesn't have to be necessarily have to be evil, even if they seem evil to us. So it could be quite normal for them. He said, as it's normal for some insects to lay their eggs in other insects, which then die as a result. But the eggs hatch, and
I see.
the young insects feed on the dead insect. This is they don't do it out of malicious intent. They do it because it's their nature. So there's no evilness involved. So it could be the same here. But
yeah, it could be survival, if that's the survival of the well, I want to call it an object of the living matter.
Yes, yeah, correct. I think so too. So as a paranormal investigator, are you only interested in approaching the phenomena, or do you are you helping people actually to get rid of bad spirits, something like that?
I don't think that people have the capability to disperse energy. I am a big Einstein believer in the spooky action at a distance and the beginning of the theory of relativity. And so I don't believe that matter can be neither created nor destroyed. And nor do I believe that a person that resides on this earth in a meat suit has the ability to create nor destroy a matter that was already relevant to this earth previous to, it's cosmic. We're cosmic. I do believe that we are eternal. We're a resource that continues to recycle itself.
But it's very interesting.
Yeah.
So what methods or tools do you typically use during paranormal investigations?
My favorite audio is the typical just EVP session, electronic voice phenomenon session, a burst session that we run for about 5 minutes at a time. And if you hear an intelligent response in a short period of time, you're actually having a conversation with an intelligent ghost, and you can, ask, what's your name? They give a name. Where are you from? They say a location. And it's in a timely manner. And so that would lend to the credibility that you're having a conversation. These entities generally are at a higher frequency. And so with the availability of the audio equipment, bringing it home, slowing down the clips, you're able to actually hear on the frequency that is available to different spiritual entities.
I have talked to a lot of ghost hunters myself, and I came to the conclusion that all of these ghost hunters approach their cases in a similar way. They all do the same. So it seems to me as somebody who is not into all that. But have you developed any unique or specialized investigation skills or techniques for yourself?
Um, I would say being a female in the field is a little bit different. I did start out 20 years ago when it was very silent in the arena. And so I'll go into places that are meant for men, like battleships, things like that. So even though I am an instrument of my own, I have a different response than men get when they go onto these investigations. And it's not like I'm opening some portal or doing something crazy, but really I'm in a space that I'm not welcome. There's a respect issue and things like that. So I see that the response can vary based off of the people that you bring and based off of the attitude that you bring too. So I have seen people want to be the star of their own show, and they focus a lot of the investigation on themselves. I'm guilty of that. I like to be a superstar and do like all those things, but while doing that, you catch a lot of interesting things while being yourself and doing the things that you love to do and not listening to the living. You catch a lot of things that are not normal. And I've never been one to, dress myself up in a turtleneck or anything like that. So I've maintained my, you know, abilities and availabilities. And I think that changes the atmosphere. And I've never wavered from that. So I think that that's what I bring to the table as far as being a female and predominant in the field. But technique wise, we're all just talking to dead people in the dark, trying to make it more interesting than the next person and
Sure.
trying to get, a response from these people. And some people are just more interesting to watch. I think that's the only difference between the shows, because in night vision, it gets very like, you just sit there and watch somebody all day in night vision, unless the ghost is like slapping someone in the face and like, I don't care. You know what I mean? It's like listening
Yeah,
to
right.
someone's gym routine. I don't like watching the ghost hunting shows unless somebody fell down the stairs or did something really like crazy, because it does just become a game of, did that person fake their evidence? What is this like? But I like to go talk to people in the cemeteries and turn everything off and go back to the old school way of things, because after I got on the paranormal challenge and had 1 million followers overnight, I wanted to go backwards and go back and just be with the dead people again, because I shut everything off. I shut Twitter off. It was too much spiritual living people talking to me. And instead it became more about like the popularity contest that's going on out there, instead of
Sure.
sitting down and getting back to the heart of things, because ghosts don't care about numbers. They don't care about what I'm wearing. So that's for me the unique aspect. I went backwards and stopped letting people film and just kind of went back to the old school ways, went back to Salem, went back to, the places that are slower on the East Coast. And I started really enjoying myself again.
Yeah, Salem has some craziness. I can imagine what where we
Have you
actually
ever
talked
been
about
there?
some witch. I haven't. No, we actually talked about the witch huntings in one of our episodes back. I guess Germany definitely had some craziness with witches. And
Yeah, that's where it began.
yeah, Daniel's pretty knowledgeable in that area. But again, it's yeah, I can only imagine what energy, especially with the slaying of people in one area, can yeah be crazy
Yeah, it
or
is. It
disrupt
really
or
is.
disrupting Indian mounds, breaking some shit
Yeah, it's
open.
all cursed. Now it's all cursed. I'm Native American. I was actually raised on a
Oh yeah.
reservation.
Oh
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
But
So the other half of me, I have blonde hair and blue eyes, but yeah, I'm half German, half Native. And my dad is on a reservation not too far from here.
yeah, what tribe?
I'm Lipan Apache, but we
Oh
wound
cool.
up coming towards the Canada area and wound up
Hmm.
settling up in upstate New York.
Yeah. Yeah, we have tons of tribes here. Tons of
Yeah.
reservations. Yeah, here in Wisconsin. More up north, but yeah. We actually have
See, more to
one.
visit, more
Yeah.
reason to come by.
Yes. Oh, that's so cool. Again, I feel like the Native Americans, again, keep it within their culture with all the secrets with extraterrestrials and ghosts and Bigfoot and
Yeah.
Dogman and other crazy cryptics. But yeah, it's so cool. That's really
Yeah, it
cool.
is. It's everybody's different. They got a different system of beliefs, but I think now we have the availability to measure what we are seeing, and that
Mhm.
helps. We're like, oh, we feel something over there. There might be a little boy, and then we turn a thermal camera to the side and we're able to heat measure or cool measure, an object and say, okay, we can validate your experience by saying that we have these measurements here
Sure.
that we can show, and it's not for everybody else all the time. But if you ever do an EVP session by yourself and then play it back, you're like, oh,
I don't know if
you
you
want to
ever
share it with somebody.
I don't know if you ever heard of a guy named Barnaby Jones from Wisconsin here where I'm at. And he's a cryptic hunter and he does tons. He goes all around the US and he does this for a living. He's got a team of people he works with um, to go to these areas and they film, they have their YouTube channel and they go to these conventions and have lectures and stuff like that. But he actually came and did uh, I was part of his little UFO documentary. He came here and saw the photographs that I had from Colonel Wendell Stevens' photographic archive. Um, so yeah, it was awesome meeting him. For the fact that he goes out in the field and is doing it independently and kind of making a name for himself here in Wisconsin. It's pretty dope.
Yeah,
Go
that
with that.
is awesome. Is he a
Yeah.
team of one?
No, he's got like 10 people he works with, like to skeptics to like psychic mediums to investigators to other people who work with the technology. Yeah, again, I was so blown away when he came pulling up to my house in his Ghostbuster van. And I can imagine all the people are looking at me all crazy, like, what the hell is happening over here? No, that's pretty cool. Um,
That is cool. Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
I respect the other people who do it independently, like yourself, just doing it for
Thank
the
you.
love of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Let
really
me
Yeah.
stop.
cool.
Let me stop that pothead right here. Let's go back to the paranormal phenomena for a second. I can imagine it's pretty hard to differentiate between potential paranormal evidence, if you can call it that, and other rational explanations. How do you approach that problem?
I always say do things in threes. So take pictures in threes, ask questions in threes, make sure that you're able to validate as much as possible afterwards. Debunking is really important. Now, I can tell you from experience that I've gone home at 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm like, I'm not tired enough that I can't review this evidence. And so I chug a 5-hour energy and my eyes are bugging out. I'm really shaking. I've already had 8 hours out in the field and I'm watching, and all of a sudden I hear something and I really freak myself out to the point where I'm like, oh my gosh, I hear a breath, but I'm too tired. I shouldn't have reviewed the evidence. And I do freak myself out when later on I call my friend and she's like, oh no, that was me, but I spend 3 hours for the rest of the night till the sun goes up, like, oh my God, it's demonic. What was that? So we have to sometimes review the evidence multiple number of times, make sure that when you're capturing the evidence, all your pictures are in numbers 1, 2, 3. When you're doing burst sessions, which is an EVP session, you're sitting down, saying where you are, making it a 5 to 7 minute ordeal, and then closing out so that there's no scratching, scraping, walking, and lots of ways to eliminate, and try to have like 3 cameras running at once. I generally have a thermal camera and 2 visuals, which is night vision camera and then regular camera with a flashlight behind it so you can see in the dark.
Interesting. In your opinion, what is the most compelling evidence in your investigations?
I would have to say it's the thermal camera because it doesn't rely on light. And so we're able to capture multiple pictures and now video with the availability on the newer models. And so with that, I have 9 snapshots, for example, of a complete apparition dissipating out of form that's void of color. And in the paranormal field, as far as credibility, you cannot get more credible evidence than that. You can't that can't be fake, that can't be compromised. That's something that's void of color. And as you know, in the field, if you're taking a picture of anything that has temperature, it's yellow, red, if it's living. So I feel like the thermal camera would be the most credible visual piece of evidence in the paranormal field.
Interesting. So you're in possession of video or audio material which you cannot explain.
Yes, yeah. I actually presented it to the bio channel. I was on their channel when I presented all the evidence to them. And I was on 2 different episodes so that they could kind of pack the evidence out there. And it was incredible, the response that I got. And people were actually offering me like the paranormal awards for evidence. So
Cool.
for me, that's big. I like my little dorky friends and our little contests and things we have. So I felt as though that was pretty big, both for myself personally and the field, kind of responded, the community responded to me. And they were like, that was pretty compelling.
Have you ever been called to a paranormal investigation, paranormal site, and you debunked all this stuff that happens there?
I don't like to say that I debunk it too much just because everybody's personal experience, I don't want to take away from them. But I did go to the Conjuring House, and yes, the Conjuring House in Rhode Island. And I was the first female paranormal investigator invited there after the sale went to friends of mine in the paranormal. And I spent the night there and I never slept more peacefully in my life. I didn't sense anything in the basement. I went live. I did a paranormal investigation. I felt nothing. But again, it doesn't mean that there's nothing. It just means that I didn't have an experience there.
Sure.
Yeah, of course. I think the movie Conjuring 2 is about the Enfield poltergeist case in England. I had a podcast with a book author about this case. It was very interesting. There's so much evidence, is a hard word, but there's so many witnesses that witnessed crazy stuff. The couch lifted up from the floor and spinned or turned, I don't know. This girl, was it the name Joanne? I'm not sure. She levitated and people claim to have seen her levitating. And the most interesting thing is, and there's audio and video out there on YouTube. You can watch it, when she talked with this crazy voice, and she was only 11 years old, and she talked with this very, very deep voice like an older man. Damn. That I'm a skeptic. I'm a skeptic when it comes to everything. But when I heard that, yeah, make the hair my hair stand up a little bit. It's very very crazy case.
Kind of reminds me of Emily Rose too. That
Yeah.
like she
Yeah,
died of
I
that
agree. Yeah.
exorcism. Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah.
gnarly.
Yeah, that was like the reincarnation.
How do you can speak for Ava if you want, if you know it. How do you ensure your investigations are unbiased and objective?
I think that we do the best we can to broaden. So it is never just Ava and I, it is oftentimes multiple people with multiple pieces of equipment. So that we don't just tend to say, okay, it's just we're 100% believers. That's it. There's no skeptics allowed. We invite people in on the evidence, and sometimes we don't say, "Look at the bird in the sky." We say, "Did you see that? What did you see?" And so it's open ended. And I don't tell people to believe in ghosts. I would never do that. That's not for me. And I would never tell people that they have to see a shadow figure in my video. So oftentimes we'll present that, and we're not provokers. We're not like the type of people that are like, you have to come out, and the ghosts or the people. So we let that, you know, we let that be decided by the viewer, because we don't, sometimes viewers will say, hey guys, did you see that? Did you see that? So we have people that will kind of end the story for us or help us out, because they're also sensitive and watching things that are in a sensitive area. And so there are times I want to believe that we've caught the most monumental activity, and there are times where I'm very disappointed to find out we did not. So,
Mhm.
and that's also part of the debunking process. And, you have to go through it a few times. It can be disappointing to go 14 hours somewhere and not get anything, but that's
Mhm.
reality.
Mhm.
Yeah, you told us you're in the field, you and Ava are in the field for, I think, more than 20 years now. Did your view on the paranormal change over the course of the years and with all these investigations you had?
I used to be a lot less afraid than I am now. I think that um, I became more afraid after a few experiences, and after, coming home to a personal space and kind of not being able to shake some things that had happened. And sometimes it wasn't just spiritual or activity. Sometimes it was personal stories of, things that had happened, women that had been buried in an indigent cemetery because they weren't allowed to own land, and they were brought to an asylum by their husband, who had found, a new woman and didn't want to bother with this woman anymore. And women weren't allowed to own land. And so the squandering of people's lives when they were placed into these asylums by the government, the also Salem situation, finding out that these people that were, Christian, they were believers, they didn't have any witchcraft, but they were accused of it so that land could be taken from them, because the heel was on their head. If your name was written in the devil's book, you were done. That was,
Mhm.
people were living in that age for death, for the eternal life that they were living afterwards. They almost didn't even care about daily life, as long as they were serving the Lord and serving, and making sure they were staying out of the devil's way. So it became, they were serving every day. I don't feel as though we have to fight the battle of good and evil to that degree, but there's a lot of spiritual good and bad here on this earth.
I think I
Yeah.
have to add something to my question. Did your perception or idea of the phenomena itself, the all in all picture of the paranormal, change over the course of years? Because when you start as a youngster and yeah, you just start out, you might think that the paranormal is all about people that have died and now they come back and haunt the living and shit like that. So, and now I, that's what I thought many, many years back, when I didn't
Yeah.
deal with all that stuff. But now I'm pretty sure that UFOs, Bigfoot, ghost apparitions, alien abduction cases. This does not mean that I do believe in all that stuff ultimately, but I think that it's all connected. Everything is connected to each other. And the craziest Bigfoot sighting could have something to do with a ghost apparition like 1,000 miles away. You know what I mean? I mean,
I do.
has your picture changed of the paranormal that you had 20 years back?
It has, yes. And I do believe that the same thing. I thought it was just simple activity. I thought it could potentially just be, you know, ghosts or somebody that died. But I don't know if you're familiar with Lyle Watson or the 100th monkey theory, but I'll give you a quick on it. There's the Galapagos Island where he was studying 100 monkeys are washing potatoes. Well, when it gets to the 100th monkey on an island far, far away where the monkeys could not possibly have seen this activity, they start washing their potatoes because the phenomenon of the 100th spiritual being participating in this activity is enough for the encompassing area to feel a psychic vibe. So they start washing their potatoes without ever seeing this activity. So that's quantum entanglement. And that can be like the spider web that goes through. We see Bigfoot over here. We see a UFO over here. Are those two things possibly in an arena or portal that is one and the same? Interdimensional activity could be just that. If we were turning a channel that said, we're going to go to interdimensional, we're going to go to the quantum realm, that would be a possibility to change that into almost like a highway to ghosts, Bigfoot, and all of the phenomenon that we see.
There's a place here in Wisconsin called Burlington, Wisconsin, and they have a forest where if you go to the certain area and start taking pictures with your camera, the pictures all turn out swirly and like orbs are, going in and out. And it's again, they think they might be like an interdimensional. They call it the vortex there, the Burlington vortex. But yeah, again, these interdimensional holes or places where these things kind of just pop in and out. With even with Bigfoot, I heard there's like a story where a guy saw Bigfoot and he had his gun, he shot at it, and it like just turned into dust. He's just like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? And there's been
Yeah.
sightings of like lights in the sky and with Bigfoot sightings, and yeah, it's again very mysterious.
Yeah. I was out at the Bridgewater Triangle in Massachusetts, which is supposed to be like the Bermuda Triangle, because it's 200 square foot of the most haunted area, and it's got northern lights, Bigfoot sightings,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of paranormal activity, not all one and the same. Again,
Yeah.
there's possibilities of portals, there's possibilities of channels. Is it quarantined to one area or another? I don't know if we could ever possibly know that, you know. I don't know
Yeah.
if we could know, but once I dive into it all. Mermaids, everything. Like, what are the possibilities of all these things? Like,
Sure.
and they're all spiritual to me and magical, and you know,
Right. Would you ever want to go down to Skidwalker Ranch and do an investigation there?
yeah, yeah. I was invited there before COVID, and
Oh,
I was
cool.
supposed to. Yeah, I was doing a lot of studying and stuff on it. I would go. I'm not afraid of things like that. I think I would be open to the experience. Really,
Yeah.
I don't. I would be more fascinated. Really, I'd be honored. Really.
Yeah, there's a place there's like a little mini Skidwalker Ranch here in Wisconsin where it's called Poland, Wisconsin, where this guy claimed that UFOs hover and land on his property constantly enough where this dude like built a gigantic spaceport or landing port for them just to attract them even more. So, and then he has people that come to him and he gives them tours and talks about his stories. But again, very interesting that this guy like built this gigantic spaceport for these aliens that he claims that keep landing and hovering over his property. And
Maybe
I don't
they
know if
like
you
the
know,
corn.
yeah, right.
They like the corn
But
over there.
they do. No, again, I don't know if you know this, that Wisconsin has 3 towns that claim to be the UFO capital of the world. Dundee, Belleville, and Elmwood. And all three towns have yearly parades and dressing up their cars like UFOs and dress up like aliens, reminiscing UFO stories. But again, like this, there's these hot spots. Again, I don't know if it's Native Americans with the because we have tons of burial grounds here, and there's another hot spot called Dundee Mountain where there's most activity in Wisconsin. Like I guess Native Americans were calling it Spirit Hill because there was so much paranormal activity even on the base of the mountain too. So with lights and
And if you
orbs.
look at the hieroglyphs, that would make sense, you know, look at the
Mhm.
hieroglyphs. I was looking at some of them more Egyptian than native, but I was looking at some of them with the, you know, concept of the ancient alien theory. And
Mhm.
it is very interesting that the choice of art was this big, huge, almost like the size head didn't fit the body. You know what I mean? Like there was just
Yes.
something that was seen that we don't technically see every day. But they
Yeah,
drew
like
it and, you know,
right.
it's pretty accurate.
Right. Like I go back to the Kachina dolls and the Hopi Indians that, depict all these uh creatures that they interacted with that gave them mathematics and agriculture and astronomy and how to stay alive. And then again,
Yeah.
they went back to the stars, but then they promised to return in the future. And that's why they continue making these dolls so they pass it on to their children so they won't be afraid once they do come. So again, I love that story of uh
I like that
of the
too.
Hopi
And Nikola
Indians.
Tesla, they say, has some, you know, was woken up in the middle, like woke up in the middle of the
Yes.
night with this idea about, you know, but like he went to the next level also, elevated, whatnot.
Mhm.
And he was one of the ones that I felt like maybe could have been part of the phenomenon.
Mhm.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
did like the
Mhm.
rule of three too. There's something about when he goes into his dreams, he goes that higher realm, and then like the
Mhm.
rule of three came to mathematics, and yeah, again, that was man. Can you imagine
No,
like living at that
it all
time?
makes sense to him.
Oh
To
yeah.
me, I don't know. I'm bad at math.
Or the fact that he was going to make that gigantic tower for free energy for like cars and planes and for homes and stuff like that. That was like inconceivable
Monumental.
back then. Yeah,
Hmm.
like that one little dude
Yeah.
was doing that.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Monumental.
Yeah. A few minutes ago, you mentioned mermaids, and I had
Hmm.
to think about this story. I did a podcast about it not too long ago. It's about the Chinoi caves in Zimbabwe.
Mm.
And within this cave system, there's a big lake, pretty deep lake. And it's said that legend has it that no one can manage to throw a stone across the Great Lake. The reason for this is that the lake is inhabited by spirits who catch the stone midair and bring it and bring they bring bad luck upon the person who threw it. And for many locals, the bottom of the lake is also the reason for the disappearance of a lot of people. Many have gone into these caves but never came back out. And perhaps it has something to do with the mermaids. People say there are mermaids that live on the bottom of the lake, and the people are very afraid of these mermaids. Actually, so they're not good mermaids. If an unfortunate visitor misbehaves or gets too close to the water at the wrong time, or even falls into the water, the mermaids grab him. They grab his ass, pull him down, and rip him apart and eat him. Yeah.
Oh my God.
So these are very pretty bad mermaids, and people really do believe in these mermaids. There are a lot of stories about these mermaids, and but sometimes people come back. Sometimes these mermaids they set their prisoners free. They don't eat them. People uh, who come back as healers or shamans, something like that. So this is what the legend tells us about these crazy Shinoi caves. In these Shinoi caves, it's said to be a portal place too, and there's anomalies and strange things happen there. There are rules. If you want to visit these Shinoi caves, there are rules you have to follow. So if something very strange happens, let's say you see a rabbit doing a handstand, you're not allowed to laugh or wonder. You just have to walk on and don't look at it. Could be a spirit who tries to lure you in to kill you. Yeah, the Chinhoy Caves. It's interesting to take a look at it. And
I'm gonna look at that up.
have you and not too far away from the Chinhoy Caves, there is the Mount Nyangami. Have you heard about Mount Nyangami? It's also said to be a portal place, and paranormal things happen there. It's a mountain. You can go there. People disappear there, and you're not allowed to pee on Mount Nyangami.
You're not allowed to pee. You have to pee your pants.
You're not allowed to pee. You're not allowed to get rid of trash. You're not allowed to litter Mount Nyangami. And people that disappear there, locals think that when people disappear there, they did something wrong. They didn't follow the rules, and yeah, the big snake from the legends. There's a big snake who helped to create all that. Yeah, it eats these people. People think that.
My gosh.
Yeah, it's also, like I said, it's also known to be a portal place. Time anomalies, strange things happen there. Very interesting to read about the Mount Nyangami. Very interesting stuff happens there, and yeah, the rules are pretty stupid. Women are not allowed to be on Mount Nyangami if they have their special days.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, you're not allowed to pee. People go behind a bush to pee, and they never come back out again. That's what locals say.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Strange place on Earth.
I'm not going there to pee.
No.
I'll pee
neither.
over here.
Me neither.
That's funny.
As paranormal investigators, do you collaborate with other paranormal investigators or research groups?
Yeah, I do a lot of solo stuff with my partner Josh. We do Operation Geist, but we branch out also and do like the UFO stuff was not something that was originated from me. Because Ava and I have been out on networks and circuits, people know to reach out to us if they're doing something where they need an extra hand or certain equipment or backup, individual. So we inadvertently wind up going on a lot of projects that are together further away from here. We've done a lot of Salem. The witch trials was a place where we would go on a yearly basis, and we would go to the Hawthorne Hotel every year in April and meet up for a week and spend that time doing investigations, educating the public on what had happened there, and kind of just getting together and doing the typical investigation. And a lot of stuff over there is history instead of it being more of the paranormal side. A lot of the paranormal was brought to Salem, which is feel comfortable there now. So we can go and celebrate and, so we wind up getting invited though, a lot of male driven groups, the black t-shirt group and the paranormal. So we go to a lot of charity events also. The paranormal on the East Coast over here, we do a lot of paranormal for paws, for the puppies and kitties and stuff like that, because we're big saps. And we do a lot of charity events, including making sure that we contact the historical societies on the East Coast and do fully funded investigations where we give all the proceeds to the historical society to fix roofs and different locations that need the extra love to keep them open. So that's what we do.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Thanks.
To finish up this episode, one last question. What advice would you give to someone interested in becoming a paranormal investigator?
I would say stay original. Everybody wants to be the star of their own show in the paranormal. It's not a competition. The ghosts, the aliens, they don't care about numbers. They could care less. Do what you love to do And when you're going out in the field for the first time, you don't have to be rich and you don't have to secure a wonderful location. Go to a local cemetery before dusk. And the most powerful piece of paranormal equipment we all currently have is our phones. Take tons of pictures, start your own page, and be the star of your own show, but don't worry about what the living think.
Sure.
It's good advice.
Yeah, that is. Perfect.
Okay. That was very, very interesting. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us. And a big
you.
shout out to Ava, who couldn't be part of the show today, but I think we will have her on the next time.
Yeah,
Together with
definitely. Future episode in motion.
Yes.
Cool.
Thank
That's
you guys for
exciting.
having me. I had such a great time.
Thank you. You're welcome. Please stay with us for 2 more minutes, okay?